The boy hesitated at the entrance for a second before stepping inside. His old sneakers made a soft scraping sound against the shiny marble floor, so clean it reflected his face like a mirror. Bright sunlight poured through the tall glass windows, bouncing off gold rings, diamond necklaces, and sparkling bracelets. Everything inside looked perfect, expensive, and far beyond his world. His name was Arif, and he was just 17 years old. He wore a yellow plaid shirt that had faded with time, the sleeves loose around his thin arms. His jeans were old, with frayed edges at the bottom. He knew he didn't look like the usual customers who came here wearing suits, watches that cost more than his yearly savings, and confident smiles. Still, he walked in. 'Cause he wasn't there for himself. Arif had come for his mother. She was the only family he had. Ever since his father died years ago, she had worked endlessly to raise him. He stitched clothes for others late into the night, skipped meals without complaining, and wore the same worn sandals year after year so her son could stay in school. Arif wanted to give her something beautiful for her birthday. Something that said, "I see everything you've done for me." But before he could even reach the counter, laughter filled the air. Behind the glass displays stood 3 store employees. Their uniforms were neat, their hair perfectly styled, name tags shining under the lights. One of them glanced at Arif and immediately smirked. Another covered her mouth and whispered something. The third openly laughed, pointing at his shoes. "He's lost," one of them muttered, not even trying to hide it. "Can you even afford to stand in here?" another said with a sharp laugh. Their voices were loud enough for Arif to hear every word. If you believe people should be treated with respect no matter how they look, take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Stories like this remind us what truly matters. Arif froze. His heart dropped so fast it felt like the ground had disappeared beneath him. His face burned with shame, but he didn't turn around. He had faced looks like this before. At school, buses, in places where people judged him before knowing his story. He took a deep breath and walked to the counter. His voice was soft, almost trembling, as he pointed to a simple silver pendant resting on a velvet tray. It was shaped like a small leaf. Nothing flashy, just gentle and elegant. Exactly like his mother. "Can I see this one, please?" he asked. Laughter grew louder. "That one costs more than his whole outfit," one employee joked. Another rolled her eyes. "Why do kids like this even come here?" Arif clenched his fists. His throat tightened. For a moment, he wanted to disappear. But then he thought of his mother sewing under dim lights, her fingers sore, her back bent with exhaustion. So he stayed. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a bundle of crumpled bills. Money he had saved over years. Tutoring kids in math, washing cars, mowing lawns in the burning summer heat. Every note carried effort, sweat, and sacrifice. He placed the money carefully on the glass counter. For a brief second, the laughter stopped. Then it returned, louder and crueler. What no one in that store knew was the truth Arif himself didn't even know. His father was not dead. His father was alive. And his father owned the jewelry store. The far end of the shop stood a middle-aged man in a simple olive-green suit and a wide-brimmed hat. He had entered quietly minutes earlier and watched everything unfold. His name was Kabir. Kabir was one of the most respected businessmen in the city. But he never dressed like it. He believed wealth should never speak louder than character. Years ago, after personal struggles, he chose to live quietly, letting his son grow up without knowing his true identity. He wanted Arif to learn humility, hard work, and kindness, without the shadow of money. But what he saw that day broke his heart. Watching his son being mocked, watching him stand tall despite the humiliation, watching him place his hard-earned savings on the counter with dignity. Kabir stepped forward. His footsteps echoed across the marble floor. The laughter faded. The employees looked up and froze. "Good afternoon," Kabir said calmly. Their faces turned pale when they recognized him. "I'd like to know," he continued, his voice steady but powerful, "why my customer is being laughed at." Silence filled the store. Kabir turned to Arif and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Son," he asked softly, "what did you come here to buy?" Arif looked up, confused, his eyes meeting his father's for the first time in years without knowing it. "This necklace," he said quietly. "For my mother." Kabir smiled. A proud, emotional smile. Then he turned back to the staff. "This boy," he said, his voice firm, is my son." Gasps filled the room. "And one day," Kabir continued, "everything you see here will belong to him." The employees stood frozen. Their faces drained of color. Shame replaced arrogance in seconds. Customers whispered among themselves, shocked and embarrassed by what they had witnessed. Kabir didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult anyone. He simply said, "Never judge someone by how they look. You just laughed at more dignity than you'll ever wear." Together, father and son bought the necklace, not because they could, but because it was chosen with love. When they stepped outside, the sunlight felt warmer. Arif felt lighter, taller, stronger. Later that evening, his mother held the necklace in her hands, tears streaming down her face, not because of its value, but because of the love behind it. That day, a lesson spread through the town. Not about money, but about kindness. Arif never forgot how it felt to be laughed at. And he promised himself he would never make anyone feel small again. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tell us below, what did this story mean to you? Your words might be exactly what someone needs today.